There's just so much.
You're listening to a Mamma Mia podcast.
Mamma Mia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Hello, it's Mia popping in to your ears with something very different. I'm not interviewing anyone. This is just a chat from me to you. If you happen to be a woman who is dealing with or knows a woman who is dealing with perimenopause, if you are not, then this is not for you. But I just wanted to talk a little bit candidly and vulnerably, which is what No Filter is about my experience with perimenopause, because I know it's something that's a bit of a unspoken topic that so many women, in fact all women, if they are lucky enough to go down the path of life, will experience in their 40s and 50s, and even earlier if you've had chemo or some other medical treatments can put you into perimenopause and menopause sooner than that. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my experience and also tell you about something we're doing at Mamma Mia that is going to help all the women who have peri. I really wish that I'd known more about this before I hit it. I knew about menopause and I knew that that's what happened when your period stopped. But I just thought that it was like, oh yeah, I imagine your periods sort of get lighter and then they stop. And that's all I kind of knew. I mean, I was never very interested in talking to my mum about it because, I don't know, we're not very interested in what our mums go through, are we? Until we go through something and then we're like, hey, how did you go with this? Anyway, so I feel like I was really, really unprepared when I hit my 40s. And the first thing that happened was that my periods got really heavy, and that was definitely not in the brochure. I thought that they would get lighter. I've never had heavy periods, and I was talking on the show a little while ago we were talking about things that we got worse at as we got older, and I found that I got worse at having my period. Like I was leaking on my clothes. I remember being in the office and my beloved Liz, who was once my EA, is now our head of podcast. She's so amazing and she's the executive producer of Out Loud, producer Liz. And I was walking past her desk and she said, oh, wait, you've got something on your skirt. And she tried to rub it off. And we both looked down and I went, oh, no, that's actually blood. And what can you do? We just had to laugh. I mean, I thought I was over that part where you sort of leave the barbecue with your denim jacket around your waist when you're in high school because you weren't expecting your period or you didn't change your tampon in time because you're still learning what it means to have a period. But my God, I've been menstruating for, I don't know, how old am I? 35 years or more, bloody 40 years almost. And suddenly I found that I was bleeding like that episode of And Just Like That when Charlotte bleeds through her clothes. That was happening to me all the time. And it was really embarrassing and disconcerting and also just inconvenient. Like I sometimes couldn't leave the bathroom. It's called flooding, and until the Mirena was invented, which is a type of IUD that can help with this and actually sort of stops your period, women were having to get hysterectomies because my iron was so low. I was like perilously low in iron because I was losing so much blood, and sometimes I couldn't leave the house. Anyway, so that was my first surprise with perimenopause. And then, I mean, the thing with peri is that the symptoms are so different and they are mental, physical, and I was going to say spiritual, emotional. So it's everything from mood swings. I found myself suddenly I'd have these waves of rage where I'd just want to kill people that I love or like scream. And I am not usually someone who loses my temper. It would never happen at work, but it would sometimes happen at home or sometimes when I was in the car. And sometimes it really sort of shook me a little bit, these feelings, these intense feelings of rage. And then at other times I would just be crying most days and for all sorts of weird reasons. And then my boobs got bigger. And I didn't know what that was about. And then my body tried to change shape. It didn't just try, it actually succeeded in changing shape. And it became bigger around my middle. It was like I had all of my weight shifted and I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. Sometimes my skin would be itchy. And all of these things happened over a period of years. or over a time span of years in my 40s. And because I didn't know anything about perimenopause, I didn't put it all together. I thought, I talked to my therapist about my rage, and I was feeling really forgetful, and I was like, oh my God, what if it's early onset Alzheimer's or dementia? And it was causing a lot of problems. Like my family would kind of laugh at me, and I would be the butt of jokes sometimes in terms of how forgetful I was, or the fact that I would cry all the time. But I felt really not like myself is all that I can describe it as. And then I interviewed Dr. Ginny Mansberg for an episode of No Filter, and I learned about how all of these things were symptoms of perimenopause. And I learned that perimenopause is a thing. It's the time frame before your period stops, and it can last up to 10 years. And usually it starts in around your 40s. Some women experience no symptoms. Some women experience incredibly debilitating symptoms. The only symptom I'd heard of that I associated with menopause or perimenopause was hot flushes. And to me, that didn't happen until much, much later. And I don't get hot flushes very badly at all. I sometimes do, but they're not debilitating. I've found the emotional things and some of the physical changes to be much more difficult. And then insomnia. I'd always been such a good sleeper, and then suddenly couldn't sleep. So when I started talking about it, because if you've listened to Mamma Mia Out Loud for a while, or if you've been following me on social media or been reading my writing over the years, you know that the way I process things is by talking about them. The way I find out if it's just me or if other people are experiencing similar things is by talking about them and writing about them. And when I started, there are so many women who were like, oh my God, me too. Oh my God, me too. And I realized that it was really hard to find good information. It took me years to even work out what was going on. Then I ended up being recommended an endocrinologist, which is like a hormone doctor, and I went to see him, and he's like, you're the first woman I've seen this week who hasn't cried. And I'm like, well, it's just the beginning of our appointment. And he explained to me that perimenopause is like puberty in reverse. And so there's no test you can do for perimenopause. There's a test you can do to see if you're menopausal and that you're through the other side. But as Ginny Mansberg explained, menopause is actually one day, because menopause is when you haven't had a period for a year, and that's menopause. All the bits before that are your body. You don't just sort of smoothly, calmly wind down your hormone productions. It's a roller coaster. And that's what it feels like. Well, that's what it's been feeling like for me for lots and lots of years. And I've actually felt sometimes like I'm going crazy. It's no accident that a lot of women get divorced and have relationship breakdowns during perimenopause, because it can make you think, oh, I don't love this person anymore. My relationship's bad. And occasionally your relationship, sometimes it might actually be. And sometimes you might actually have anxiety or depression. But a lot of the time, if you're in your 40s, it might be perimenopause. So what I did was discover that it was really hard to know who to go and see, and also their wait lists were long. It's really expensive to go and see a specialist. And with peri, because there are so many different symptoms, there are like mental issues and physical issues and emotional issues and hormonal issues and things about HRT and natural therapies. There are so many different people to go and see, and who's got the time, who even knows where to find the best people, and who's got the money to see all those specialists. So what I decided to do was to bring them all together for all of us sisters in peri, all of us very peri women who feel like we're just not ourselves. Because one of the biggest things that I've also learned is that so many women think they just have to suck it up, that it's just, it's not that bad, and my hot flushes and I can't sleep and I want to kill everyone, but it's just this phase. You actually don't have to suck it up. We shouldn't have to suck it up. And I'm not going to suck it up anymore. So we've got these experts together. I've made a summit, right? I didn't even know what a virtual summit was. But I made a virtual summit because I'm like, well, I don't want to have an in-person summit because firstly, COVID, and secondly, there are women all over Australia and the world who need this information and who maybe can't get to somewhere on a certain day at a certain time and might not live in whatever city we decide to have it in. So I'm like, let's bring the experts together. Let's interview them all, and we will stream it live over 2 nights. Forgetfulness and brain fog is real, or it's real for me, for peri. And so we thought we'd do it over 2 nights because there's 11 experts and I can't sit and listen to 11 experts in one day. So it's called the Very Peri Summit. It's going to be on – when's it going to be on? I've forgotten when it's going to be on. It's going to be on – when's it going to be on? Oh, it's going to be on May 3rd and 4th. Can you relate? It's going to be 7 to 9 p.m. on May 3rd and 4th. And we've brought 11 experts together in different aspects of perimenopause. Dr. Ginny Mansberg has written this book. She's got this best-selling book about menopause, and she's going to be talking about insomnia and hot flushes because they can be so debilitating. Then we've got Lara Bryden, who is a naturopath. She's going to be talking about the best natural treatments for peri and which ones are a total waste of money. And all these women, by the way, all these experts, they're all women, and they're all women who are in their 40s, 50s and 60s. So they're all women who have experienced peri or who are also in peri themselves. Then we're going to talk to, this isn't in order by the way, but I'm just telling you all the experts so you get a sense of what we're going to cover. We're also going to talk to Tracy Cox. Yes, that is her name. I used to work with Tracy many years ago at Cosmo when she was the deputy editor. She went on to become a global sexpert. She's written, 40 books about sex. And she has written, her most recent book is about sex in your 40s and 50s. And she's going to talk about how to peri-proof your sex life and fixes for the most common complaints because sex can suddenly become painful when you're peri, and things like vaginal dryness and UTIs and pain during sex when you didn't used to have that can leave you feeling really confused, and that can also impact on your relationships because once upon a time when you were peri, you would probably be married with children. But now women who are in their 40s and 50s are single and dating and married for the second time and single and not dating and, in same-sex relationships. And there are so many different ways to be a woman at this age. And Tracy very much believes that a healthy sex life is very, very important, even if you're just having sex with yourself. Then we're going to talk to Dr. Yasmin Tam, and she's going to talk all about HRT. Now, women, friends, this is a game changer. What exactly is HRT, hormone replacement therapy? Is it safe and could it help me? Because there is a lot of myths around HRT. Does it cause breast cancer? She's going to explain where those myths came from and what the actual evidence is behind it. And because of those myths and because of some inaccurate information that took hold many decades ago, there are a lot of us, and I would include myself in this, who have this idea that HRT isn't safe or that it causes breast cancer. And it means that we are missing out on a potential treatment or cure for so many of the peri symptoms that HRT can treat. Everything from the hot flushes to the mood swings to the insomnia to the weight gain. There's just so much that can be improved by HRT. The brain fog, I keep forgetting the brain fog. The price of admission, which is $49 if you get an early bird ticket, is worth it just to hear what Yasmin has to say about HRT. We're also going to talk to Dr. Terry Foran, who's going to talk about mental health. And mental health can really be impacted by peri. Some people like me come into the peri years with already mental health issues like anxiety or depression, and peri can impact that as well. So she's going to help us understand and unpack the impact. And sometimes it can be hard to say, well, should I be getting treatment for my anxiety or my depression? Should I maybe look at other treatments? Could HRT help with this? She helps navigate all of that. And then Susie Burrell is a nutritionist and dietitian, and she is going to talk really honestly. She's very body positive. This isn't about going on a diet or shaming anyone, because maybe you're completely happy with the weight that you are, which is awesome, more power to you. But if you're not, I think it has to be okay to also say that and express that. Because I know, speaking from experience, I will sometimes look in the mirror and just not recognize my body. And it's not necessarily that I want to lose weight. I just want to understand what's going on. So Susie's going to talk about why am I gaining weight so fast and can I do anything about it? I'm going to be hosting. We're going to be talking about all of those things: sex and sexuality, natural therapies, weight gain and changing bodies, HRT, the science of perimenopause, mood swings and rage, hot flushes and insomnia, peri skin. Oh, I forgot to tell you about that. How to Deal with Peri Skin by Dr. Joanne C. She's a dermatologist. Your skin can go bonkers when you're peri. You can get rosacea, you can get itchy skin, dry skin. We're going to sort that out as well. as well as managing relationships, as I said, and anxiety and depression. So there will be a link in the show notes, the description for this very podcast that you're listening to. Click on that, or if that isn't somehow there, it will be. Go to veryperisummit.com. It's very with a Y and Peri with an I, and Summit has 2 M's. Can you remember any of that? veryperisummit.com. There'll also be a link, if you can't remember any of this, there'll also be a link in my Instagram bio. But probably the easiest place to go is just the show notes for this podcast. Thank you for giving me your ears. The reason we're doing this is because at Mamma Mia, our core purpose is to make the world a better place for women and girls. And we really believe that this is information women need to empower us. And that's, I think, an overused word, empower. So many people, don't even get me started on the use of the word empowering, to post a photo of yourself in undies anyway, and then Photoshop it. But we do need to empower ourselves with health information. So that's what we've done here with the Very Peri Summit. And if you know someone who could benefit, you might want to give them a ticket or just forward them the link. Lots of love, sending support and a fan to all my Peri sisters.